Assalamu alaikum, people. Let me get my Insta people on. Let me fix my lighting. All right. I am here. So we said today we are going to talk about what is the mR40 method. So my name is Mubarakah Ibrahim, and if you are just joining me, then I am your health and happiness coach. And today I wanted to break down what exactly is the mR40 method that I teach, because a lot of people often want to know, like, how exactly do I help my clients get the results that they get? So I wanted to break down the mR40 method, which is in my book, mR40 method, which is currently available only in digital copy. We are working on getting the print back in stock. But I'm going to jump right into this. So I developed the mR40 method initially for myself. Really, I'll be honest. And I initially developed it for myself. So I have been a health coach, and I developed programs for my clients. And as I started getting older, right? As 40 started to approach, I found that doing things that had helped my clients lose weight and had actually helped me lose weight in the past just wasn't really working. So one of the things that, and the program that I wrote was probably pretty typical of what a lot of people think is the solution to weight loss, which is, hey, watch your calories, eat low fat, eat lean proteins, make sure that you're exercising. And I was doing all of those things and I was not losing weight, right? So one of the things, and let me say, weight loss and fitness is not always connected. When I was 39, I decided, so I don't have a problem telling my age. I'm actually 44 now. But when I was 39, I decided that, when I enter 40, I'm going to be the fittest that I've ever been. And so I had accomplished a lot of things as far as how strong I was, how fast I can go, participating in 5Ks and things like that. And so I was trying to figure out, like, what is it that I can do that will give me a goal, something to work towards, right? So that is actually one of the things that I always recommend that people do, that always have a goal to work towards with a deadline. Whether that means that you participate in an actual structured event like a 5K or anything like that, it's up to you, but just have a deadline for yourself. And so I decided to become Army Fit. So what does that mean? So I literally went to the U.S. Army website and I Googled and searched on their website, if I wanted to join the Army at 40, what would be the physical exam that they would give me? I have no intentions of joining the Army. However, I decided that would be a good way to set a goal for myself, right? It's not arbitrary. It actually has a purpose to it. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like I had to be able to run 1.5 miles in a certain amount of minutes. And it came down to, I believe, something like a sub 7-minute mile. I had to be able to do a certain amount of push-ups in 2 minutes, a certain amount of sit-ups in 2 minutes. And I worked diligently. I mean, I went to the gym. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to focus on the scale, right? So I'm telling myself all of the right things. I'm not going to focus on the scale. I'm going to focus on being fit. My 40th birthday came and I went to the gym and I was able to do everything that I set out to do. I was able to run 1.5 miles in the time. I was able to do the sit-ups and the push-ups. I was able to do everything that the Army would require me to join, but I had only lost like 2 pounds in probably about 4 months of training. Now, how is it that I could be so fit, but the weight wasn't coming off? I was completely boggled, even as a health and fitness coach and doing what I suggest to my clients to do, doing what had worked for me in the past. I was like, what in the world is going on? So I went to the doctor several times, and every time I went to the doctor, she would run a test, and I'm like, okay, it has to be something wrong with me. My thyroid, there's something wrong with my thyroid. Yeah, that's what it is. Go ahead and check my thyroid. Okay, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And so she would indulge me, and she ran several tests, several times, did a whole metabolic panel. And she's like, well, Mubarakah, everything looks good, right? She's been my doctor since I was 16. So she's like, everything looks good. This is just a part of getting older, right? And I just refuse to believe that. I'm like, I will not accept that becoming overweight is a part of getting older that we cannot avoid. I just absolutely do not accept that. So I decided to take a deeper look into different ways. I'm like, there's something has to be wrong with, I'm doing all the right things of exercise. I can't do anything else there. So let me look at food. What am I doing that maybe I can change? And so I went back to my exercise and nutrition book from college. So I have an interdisciplinary degree in exercise science, public health, and psychology. And so I still had several of my textbooks. And inside of one of my textbooks, I found a chapter on a ketogenic diet. And then it brought up the recollection that we had spoke about this briefly during one class. And so I went back and got my notes. And I began to read, and I began to do more research on it. And I decided to give it a try. And I gotta be honest, initially it was against everything that we are told to be true, right? We are told that we should limit fats. Ketogenic diet says eat high fat. We're told that we need carbohydrates, that you should eat whole grains, that they're heart healthy for you, right? Ketogenic diet says cut all grains. And so it was counter everything that I had been told, right? But at this point, I was willing to give it a try. Anything short of surgery, I was willing to do that. Now, if you've ever been there, let me know that you've been to that point where you're like, okay, I'm willing to try anything, just not surgery, right? So I was actually at that point. And so I decided to give it a try. And when I did, the weight finally started coming off. So not only did the weight started coming off, but all of my blood levels got even better from my metabolic panels. When I had more energy, my skin looked better. Like, I started having so many more benefits other than just weight loss. I was like, this is awesome, right? I love this, the way that I have shifted not just what I eat, but how much of each thing that I'm eating, right? When I shifted to high fat, it completely changed my body. So let me tell you how a ketogenic diet actually works. So first, you should know that a ketogenic diet was actually developed as an alternative to fasting. A lot of people don't know that, but now you're not a lot of people. So, and we've actually known the benefits of a ketogenic diet for over 100 years. So this is not a fad diet. It is something that has literally been around for a century. And what happened is doctors started treating prescription-resistant children who had epilepsy with fasting. They would have them go on a water fast for 30 days, and they found that the epilepsy would stop, and it even cured it by fasting for 30 straight days. So when the doctor who developed this protocol reported this to other doctors and researchers, like, these were amazing results. What researchers did is saying, well, you know, teaching people not to eat for 30 straight days is probably not that practical. What happens when a person fasts that's so beneficial to the brain, and how can we simulate that and still allow people to eat? Well, they knew that when a person fasts, particularly for long periods of time, their body goes into the state of ketosis. And instead of the body using carbohydrates as energy, the body then uses fat as energy. So it converts fat into ketones, and the ketones is used as energy in replace of using glucose, a carbohydrate that turns into glucose. So this is the first thing that you should know about a ketogenic diet. It is a completely different metabolic process, right? So you are either using ketones or you're using glucose. I often like to tell people that you can think about it in terms of how you power a house. Most people get their power through the electrical lines, right? But when the electrical lines are shut off, then people can get their power for their house through a generator. It's an alternative source of power. You can also think of it in terms of a gas car versus an electric car. Most people drive gas cars. But then another alternative to powering a car is using electricity, right? So one is not better than the other. They're just two different ways in which you can power your body and get energy. You can either use or you can use ketones. Glucose is produced from the carbohydrates that you eat. Ketones are produced from both your stored body fat and the fat that you eat. So this is why a ketogenic diet is high fat, because your body needs energy. You can't just say, I'm doing low fat and low carb, because there's only two ways for your body to convert the food you eat into energy. Either it needs carbohydrates or fat. So when people try to follow a low carb diet, but they try to pair it with a low fat diet, that is when they feel terrible. They aren't able to maintain their results. They aren't able to exercise because they don't have the energy to exercise. They have lots of side effects that they feel like, oh, this is not the program for me. And it has to do with the fact that they are trying to combine two very different philosophies. You cannot power your house with electricity and a gas generator at the same time. You have to choose one or the other, right? So first lesson is either you are in ketosis or you are not in ketosis. Either you are following a ketogenic plan that will allow your body to get in ketosis, or you are not following a ketogenic plan. There's no such thing as modified keto. So I must say that from the beginning, because I think that that's one of the big mistakes that a lot of people make when they want to try a ketogenic diet. They're like, well, I don't want to give up all carbs. I do want to have my fruit. I do want to have this. So I'm going to follow a ketogenic diet, but it's going to be modified keto. There's no such thing. Ketosis is a scientific and physiological state. So either you are in ketosis or you are not in ketosis. There's no in between. So when you try a ketogenic diet, you have to commit to it, because another way that people sabotage themselves is they want to try the things that keto likes, that they like on keto, but they don't want to give up their carbs. And so they end up eating a high fat, high carb diet, which is disaster. That is the combination that we never want when it comes to weight loss. We do not want to be having keto butter coffee in the morning with pancakes, right? Oh, well, I heard the keto coffee was great. I'm just going to add that to my current diet. I'm going to have, a banana and smoothie, and banana and date smoothie, and I'm going to have it with keto coffee. Horrible combination. Never ever do that, because you're going to sabotage your weight loss efforts. So the first component of my program, the mR40 method, is a ketogenic diet. It is very effective. We know from lots of research, so it's no longer something that's not well researched. You can go to PubMed, you can go to the NIH website, you can Google research around keto, the actual research. Keto, when your body uses ketones, it is not just beneficial for weight loss, but remember, a ketogenic diet was initially created for medical purposes. And it is still under a lot of research that looks very promising for medical purposes, all right? So things that a ketogenic diet or being in the state of ketosis has been shown to be beneficial for is, we talked about earlier that it's used for pediatric patients with epilepsy, but also adult patients with epilepsy. It has been shown promising in helping to decrease the symptoms of dementia, of Alzheimer's, of multiple sclerosis, of Parkinson's. All of those things have been shown to be beneficial, meaning that the symptoms decrease or sometimes completely go away when people are in the state of ketosis. In addition to that, it has been also shown that when you are in a state of ketosis, your brain actually functions better, because one of the reason why it's very beneficial for dementia, Alzheimer's, and epilepsy is because the brain actually functions better. So when people say, well, you need glucose for your brain to function, we've actually known for over 50 years that that is just not a true statement. You do not need glucose. Your brain can function not only well, but have been shown to function 25% better off of ketones than it does on glucose. And I encourage you to Google, go to the research sites, and fact check anything that I'm telling you. This is what the research tells us. Now, earlier I talked about how when I started following a ketogenic diet, how the weight came off so much easier than when I was trying to eat whole grains and lean proteins and all of the things that they tell us that we should do, right? Why it came off so much easier is because you are literally using your fat for fuel, right? That you have to train your body, but you can't be like, oh, I'm gonna be in ketosis 5 days a week and then I'm gonna cheat on the weekends. You can't do that every single week. Because you have to, when you initially start a ketogenic program, you should try to stay consistent for at least 3 months, at least 12 weeks, because you are training your metabolism. You're training it to now use fat instead of glucose. So that's not something that can be done in a couple of weeks. It's not something that you can do on Monday through Friday and then take a break on the weekend. You need to be consistent and commit to it for at least about 3 months in order for you to become what we call metabolically flexible. When you have metabolic flexibility, then you can shift from using ketones to glucose in a much quicker way, right? And that is how we were actually intended to function. If you lived in, hunter-gatherer days or even farming days, if you had a bad crop or you ran out of your root vegetables in the wintertime because winter lasts longer than it was supposed to, we had access to animals, milk, dairy, things that our body could then use for fuel. So our body would be like, okay, carbohydrates are not available because this was a bad crop year. We can use fat. This is a natural survival mechanism of the human body. Everyone has the ability to shift. I call it the metabolic shift, to shift from using glucose into using ketones. Now, why do I recommend this as a form of weight loss as opposed to, oh, well, if you can be in both states, then why are you recommending keto instead of recommending that people continue with whole grains and things like that? Because in general, we eat way too many carbohydrates. And if you are overweight, and again, my advice is specifically for people who would like to lose weight. If you are overweight, then you have metabolic syndrome. Obesity is a sign of metabolic syndrome. That means that your hormones are not functioning in a way that allows you to release fat, right? In order for you to get your hormones to function properly so that you can release the excess fat that you have, you must make that metabolic shift so that not only do you does your body release fat, but in addition to that, it balances your hormone. So how does a ketogenic diet do that? Well, the first thing that it does is that it mitigates the rise of insulin. Once your insulin level drops, and if you've watched me and any other lives, I probably say this in 9 out of the 10 lives that I do, which is insulin is your domino hormone. Insulin is the hormone that actually triggers about a dozen other hormones. And it triggers them for both good and bad. Now, insulin is completely necessary. Not just diabetics have insulin, everybody has insulin. And it's an essential part of our bodily functions, our metabolism, the hormones that has to ebb and flow throughout our body. So we will always have insulin. So even when you're following a ketogenic diet, you still are producing insulin. You're just avoiding the spikes and the lows. You're keeping a low, even keel of insulin. And that allows you to prevent having energy, falling down, not having energy. It prevents you from holding on to fat. So here is a couple of things that happens when you lower your insulin level. Number one, insulin is a fat storage hormone. Every time your insulin rises, your body signals to store fat. It says, insulin is up. We cannot burn fat right now. We must store it. That's really important for you to understand, particularly when we come to part 2 of what the mR40 method is, which is intermittent fasting, and the fallacy that you need to eat 3 meals and 2 snacks every single day. Absolutely not true, is actually not a good theory in terms of weight loss, because every time you eat, whether you're eating a meal or a snack, your insulin level rises. So if you're eating 3 meals and 2 snacks a day and you're eating every 3 to 4 hours, every 3 hours your body is saying store fat, okay, now we can burn a little bit, store fat, now we can burn a little bit, store fat, now we can burn a little bit. This is not a good plan when it comes to weight loss. This is a part of the method that I teach inside of my program. You can go to mR40method.com, so mR40method.com, and you can actually take advantage of a Black Friday sale that we're doing, and I'm going to teach you how to apply this to lose weight, balance your hormones, and kickstart your healthy lifestyle. So it's really important to me that everybody has this opportunity to really improve their health and well-being. That's one of the reasons why I go live so often, because even if you choose not to coach with me, I want you to at least have some base information, right? And I would love for you to join us. So, ketogenic diet, intermittent fasting. Now, this seems to be a no-brainer, right? But a lot of people don't understand the true purpose of intermittent fasting. One, fasting is not starving yourself. The goal of fasting is not so that you can eat less calories, right? I personally do not believe or subscribe to the idea that weight loss is simply calories in versus calories out. If that was true, then we would not be continuing an obesity epidemic, particularly in America and in most Western countries. Because we know when we talk about people who have or the suggestions for weight loss, which is exercise more. When we compare the statistics when we can compare the statistics from 10 years ago to now, looking at how many people actually exercises on a regular basis. We know statistically that more people exercise now in percentage of population in the United States than did 10 years ago. But yet our obesity epidemic is going up. When we look at the statistics of how many people eat more whole grains, how many people eat less fat, how many people eat less red meat, we can look at the statistics and we can say, hey, Americans are actually doing everything that the FDA suggests, but yet our obesity level is going up. When we look statistically 10 years ago, 20 years ago versus today, Americans eat less red meat, they eat less dairy, they eat more whole grains, and they exercise more. But yet obesity is a growing epidemic. We haven't even come to a standstill. We're literally getting fatter and fatter each and every year. So at some point, you have to stop and say, well, really important that we really think about if what we're doing is working, okay? So the second component of the mR40 method is to incorporate intermittent fasting. Now, intermittent fasting, what it does is, again, it lowers your insulin level to keep you on an even keel for as much of the day as you decide you can do practically in your life. I personally recommend that you do a minimum of 16 hours. By the way, anything less than 12 hours is not intermittent fasting. So if you ate your last meal at 8 p.m. and you wake up to go to work at 6 a.m. and you're eating at 6, you have not even allowed your body to go through its natural intermittent fasting process. You need a minimum of 12 hours for your body to restore itself. That is a natural process that we're supposed to have, that we screw up because we want to have ice cream at night, we want to eat at 11 o'clock, and then we still want to wake up and eat breakfast at 6 and 7 in the morning. That is not the best plan if you want to give your body time to not just burn fat, but to restore itself and heal itself. Minimum of 12 hours. 16 hours fasting is the normal recommendation. But I'll be honest, when it comes to health and wellness, sometimes there is a compromise between what we know is the most beneficial thing and what people will practically apply. And 16-8 is kind of what people can practically apply. That's stop eating at 8 p.m. and have your first meal at 12 noon. Most people can do that. But if you're serious about using the science of intermittent fasting to help you with your weight loss journey, you should know that the greatest fat burn happens between hours 18 and 20. Now, you may not be able to do that every single day, but what I do is I support my clients in helping them to incorporate that at least 2 days a week, right? We're trying to do a 20-hour fast at least 2 days a week, because that's going to give you that metabolic boost. How does that happen? So here's the physiology behind intermittent fasting. What happens is your insulin level lowers. When your insulin level lowers, your fat burning hormone, the main fat burning hormone is called HGH, human growth hormone. It skyrockets when your insulin level lowers. Another important aspect of physiological fat burn that has to do with your hormones. When your insulin level is rise, your human growth hormone lowers. They don't both come up together at the same time. So to optimize that hormonal ebb and flow, you need to get time during your day where your insulin level lowers to allow you to maximize the use of human growth hormone. And that is the way your hormones help you to lose weight. Another benefit of intermittent fasting is that it increases cellular detoxification, a process called autophagy. Autophagy is literally your body restoring, reusing, and repairing your body from a cellular level. I am not a big fan of detoxing, right? I believe the fact that you're sitting here listening to me and that I'm talking to you, our body is doing a great job detoxing. We're not sick. We're engaged. We're completely functional. That means that our body is detoxing. Our body detoxes through 7 mechanisms every single day, 24 hours a day. Your lymph nodes, your skin, your lungs, your liver, your kidneys, all of that is functioning. As long as all of those things are functioning, you are literally detoxing right now. There's very little we can do to cause detoxification, but we can do things to enhance those natural bodily functions of detoxification. But the only thing that we know can enhance it from a cellular level, meaning literally going into every cell of our body and removing and discarding of the ones that are not working properly, that may have a dysfunction in them, and restoring them. And if it can't be restored, our body discards of them, and it then decides, well, let's regenerate some new ones, because this is what we need to do to restore this organ or this system. That process is called autophagy. Now, when a person that does not incorporate intermittent fasting, the way that our body naturally works is it waits until we go to sleep. That normal 12-hour period from bedtime to the time we wake and before we eat our first meal, our body depends on that process. Our body depends on us going to sleep so we can stop eating. How about that? Because when you're asleep and you're not eating, now your insulin level is starting to slowly lower. Again, a domino hormone. When your insulin level lowers, autophagy increases. So this is one of the reasons why I tell people a fruit smoothie diet does not cause detox. Anything that you're having that is going to include sugar and glucose, I'm going to just drink tea for a week, but you're loading the tea with honey, even if it's honey, or you're loading the tea with even another type of sweetener, coconut sugar, or hey, this is pure cane sugar. If you're putting any type of sweetener that raises your insulin level, autophagy is lowering. The two cannot happen at the same time. It's important for you to know that. So the purpose of intermittent fasting is to lower your insulin level. And this is important for you to understand, because if you do engage in intermittent fasting, you should know the things that will actually break your fast. And side note, we're not talking about an Islamic fast. We're talking about an intermittent fast where you can drink water, you can have green tea, you can have black coffee. But if you are eating anything during your fasting window that raises your insulin level, all of those benefits that we talked about, they go away, right? So if you say, I'm gonna do intermittent fasting, but I'm gonna start my day with keto coffee, that's about 300 calories, right? When you do that, now your insulin level is raised because your metabolism is now kicking in to process those calories. Now your insulin level is going to raise. Once your insulin level raises, then all of the benefits go away, right? Insulin level comes up, right? Human growth hormone, your fat burning hormone, goes down. Insulin level goes up, autophagy goes down. Insulin level goes up, fat burning comes down. All of those things that happen. Insulin level goes up, now you're storing fat. Really, really important for you to understand that. So intermittent fasting is part 2 of the mR40 method. Now the third part of the mR40 method is angiogenesis inhibition. This is a really new area of study. I recommend that you go and you Google a TED Talks by a researcher named Dr. William Li. Last name is spelled L-I. And he did a talk called Can We Starve Cancer? Again, I do not claim that this program is a cure or a treatment to cancer, but it is, to me, angiogenesis inhibition is going to, I predict that it is going to be much like a ketogenic diet. Start off as a medical thing, and then we begin to use it in order for the prevention of illness, the prevention of weight, all of those things. So like a ketogenic diet, angiogenesis inhibition has been used to actually reduce cancer tumors, right? So, and I think that's a point that I actually forgot to mention when it comes to a ketogenic diet, is that when ketogenic diets are actually studied as a treatment for certain types of cancer and has been shown to shrink cancer tumors. So angiogenesis inhibition, or anti-angiogenesis, is a concept that medical professionals have been using for decades, for at least 30 years, to actually treat cancer. But they actually create a medicine that is anti-angiogenesis because they know that it helps to shrink tumors. So many cancers are actually treated this way. What angiogenesis is, it is the capillaries that feed the cancer tumor, right? So think of it as all of the growth, blood, everything that's going to the cancer tumor to make it larger. The interesting thing is that fat cells are fed with the same capillary system. All of the capillaries. So what happens is your body will create more capillaries or greater blood flow to go to that tumor or that fat cell so that it can grow faster. What angiogenesis inhibiting medications do is that they cut off some of the capillaries so they can decrease the amount of feeding that tumor is getting to help the tumor to shrink, right? So that is the goal of how they treat cancer cells. Well, Dr. William Li and his team, they decided that they wanted to find out, instead of us treating cancer after people get it, what can we do in terms of people's diet before they get cancer, or supplement cancer treatments? And they tested over a dozen foods, things that we can actually eat and incorporate into our diet. And they actually compared them to current cancer medications and its angiogenesis effect, right? So they looked at the amount of angiogenesis inhibiting compounds in food and in cancer treatment medications, all right? So that is what they did. And they found that some foods had higher angiogenesis inhibiting compounds than actual medications that doctors are using. But of course, these foods do not have the side effects that cancer treatment drugs have. And again, I want to be very clear. I am not a doctor. I am not an oncologist. I am not suggesting that you just use angiogenesis inhibiting foods in replace of cancer treatment. If you've been diagnosed with cancer or know someone that's diagnosed with cancer, please go and listen to your medical professional, but also talk to him about angiogenesis inhibiting foods, and maybe he can refer you to someone that can supplement your treatment. I always want to make that super, super clear, right? So what does this have to possibly do with weight loss? Well, what they did is that when they realized that fat cells are fed in the same manner that cancer cells are fed, they decided to experiment to see if angiogenesis inhibiting compounds could help mice who were obese to lose weight. And they took mice who were obese and they gave them angiogenesis inhibiting compounds. The mice lost weight. They took the compounds away to make sure that it was the compounds and not just because the mice were moving more or their diet has changed. They did it 3 times. When they took the compounds away, the mice gained weight. When they gave it back, the mice lost weight. When they took them away for a 3rd time, the mouse gained weight. And when they reincorporated the angiogenesis inhibiting compounds, the mice lost weight. There's 2 important things that we learned from this study. Number 1, angiogenesis inhibiting compounds have to be ingested or consumed or given on a daily basis, right? On a consistent basis in order for you to reap the benefits, because when they took the compounds away, the mice began to gain weight again. The second thing that we learned from this is it's about consistency more than anything. And we also learned that it does not, one of the other things that the researchers noted is that it didn't cause the mice to become anorexic, right? So angiogenesis inhibiting compounds in foods, it's not going to bring, your body knows what a healthy weight is. It's not going to bring you below what is healthy. Your body just learns its state of homeostasis, right? Where is that balance? And so the third part of the mR40 method is to get people to incorporate angiogenesis inhibiting foods on a daily basis. So every day, intentionally include angiogenesis inhibiting food. So that is things like turmeric. That is all of the family of greens, of collards, kale, broccoli, cabbage, all of those greens. It's teas like Japanese sencha, particularly Earl Grey, Japanese sencha, and green tea, right? Those are angiogenesis inhibiting compounds. Those are some of the foods that we make sure that we incorporate on a daily basis in order to just enhance the effect of the weight loss that ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting is giving us. The third component of the program is angiogenesis inhibiting food. Now, the fourth component of the program, y'all know I'm not going to leave you without exercise, because a healthy lifestyle always includes intentional movement that gets you to sweat. But when I decided to put together the mR40 method, I dove into the research again, and I said, what is the quickest way for people to get in shape? What is the most effective way for people to burn calories? And how can doing exercise actually give you a metabolic boost beyond just the time that you exercise? And the fourth thing that I wanted to make sure is that it couldn't take all day long. I don't know if you know this, but I'm actually against the idea of all of your workouts to be 2 and 3 hours long. I do not believe in staying in the gym for longer than an hour, okay? And that's maximum. That includes the stretching and the warm-up and everything else. So what exercises could I include inside of this program that science and research has shown to be the most effective and efficient and quickest way for people to get in shape? And that is high-intensity interval training, what we call Metcon workouts, metabolic conditioning workouts. Why are they called Metcon workouts? Is because they literally condition your metabolism to burn more fat in less time. The workouts inside of this program, they are 28 minutes long, literally 28 minutes from start to finish. They're not an hour long. They're not spend 2 hours at the gym long. 28 minutes, right? Most days of the week. Now, it's important, and I also want to be completely transparent, that long, slow workouts are also included. Long meaning hour max, right? That's what we call our steady state workouts. That is, you're going at a pace that you can maintain for an hour. For some people, that's a walk. For some people, that's a run. Whatever it is that works for you. And it has to be cardiovascular, not strength training. The strength training workouts are our HIIT workouts. So here is a little bit about how HIIT came about and why it has taken the fitness industry by storm. So high intensity interval training is the evolution of Tabata training, right? If you ever heard of Tabata. Tabata is actually named after the person who founded it. His name was Itsumu Tabata. He was a Japanese Olympic training coach. And one of the things, and the reason why he became so well known after developing this exercise protocol is because he completely changed the game in our understanding of fitness. We used to think that you had to either be strong, work on strength, or work on cardiovascular endurance. So the average Olympic team would put their members on these fitness programs where for 6 or 12 weeks, they would really work on strength and minimize cardiovascular. And then they would switch over and for 6 weeks, they would work on cardiovascular strength and minimize strength training. And they would alternate between the two because they needed both of them, but we didn't think that human beings physiologically could improve both at the same time. So Itsumu Tabata decided to put this to a test. He created these 4-minute workouts. And let me just say, as a side note, no, you cannot only do 4 minutes of working out. All right? Let's just get that clear. The reason why you can't is because this was a test on Olympic athletes. It was not for the purpose of weight loss. They wanted to look at fitness level or your cardiovascular level, which is called your VO2 max, right? The amount of oxygen that you are able to consume during your workout, and your strength level, right? It wasn't initially, it was not for weight loss. What they found is that he did, so a true Tabata workout is 1 exercise, 20 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest, and then you do it 8 times. That makes it 4 consecutive minutes. The key to the Tabata workouts was that you have to be able to physically push yourself at least to 70 to 90% of your heart rate max at each work interval, right? So here's one of the drawbacks of the Tabata and applying it to a general population. So as I told you, initially, this is research that was done among elite athletes, people who were training for the Olympics, right? They have a different level of psychological endurance when it comes to exercise because the mind is super important when it comes to you getting results. The mind is super important when it comes to you pushing yourself to the next level. They literally have sports psychologists that help them to train their mind, right? So these athletes were able to push themselves 70 to 90% of their heart rate max and then rest for 10 seconds, push themselves 70 to 90% of their heart rate max every single time for 4 minutes. So the research evolved into, well, how do we apply? We found out a couple of things. Number one, at the end of his initial study, he found out he had one group of athletes to do Tabata training. He had another group of athletes to do traditional 1-hour workouts. He found that at the end of the study, which I believe was about 4 months long, the athletes that did only 4 minutes increased their cardiovascular endurance, their VO2 max, higher than the athletes who were doing an hour. Their strength was actually increased even more. So, what happened to the world of exercise science? Mind blown. You mean all this time we can get stronger and faster simultaneously? People just went crazy. All types of research started to develop. That is how we develop what is called HIIT training. It is the evolution of Tabata training for regular people like you and me. So what HIIT training does is that it takes you between intervals of going really hard and then bringing your heart rate down. High intensity and then bringing your heart rate down. High intensity and bringing your heart rate down. And there's many different ways that you can do it. You can do it in that 20-10 way. You can do a 30-30. But I'm going to tell you what just the general limitations are. One of the things that you want to be aware of when you're doing HIIT training, and I always warn my clients about this as well, because sometimes you will go to the gym and you'll get on a piece of cardio equipment and it will tell you, this is a HIIT workout, right? And people will hit it. And it has them running for 3 minutes and then come into a walk for 30 seconds and then running for like 5 minutes and then come into a walk, right? If you want to maximize the benefit of HIIT training, your high intensity work should not be more than 2 minutes. And this is why. Now, 2 minutes is the max. The reason why is because when we have our heart rate up for an extended period of time, our body actually reduces fat burning, right? I always say that weight loss is simple complexity. It is finding the sweet spot is where you get the results from. So when I am running as fast as I can for 3 straight minutes, at minute 2, my body says, okay, I need to divert energy to my heart and lungs in order to maintain this pace, so I don't have time to do stuff like burn excess fat. So I'm diverting energy into my heart and lungs, and I'm going to minimize fat burning, right? So now you are not optimizing that metabolic shift. Now, in my program, our intervals are 40 seconds of work, 20 seconds of rest. And we generally stay between 5 to 7 exercises and do it for 4 rounds. So that's 28 minutes. There's a 2-minute rest between each round, and we are literally going online or downloading an app on the phone for an interval training timer. So you can look these up. They're online, they're free. It's a free app where you can actually set. And the goal for you is to work as hard as you can for 40 seconds. And then you rest for 20 seconds. But as soon as the bell ding, you go for the next exercise as hard as you can for 40 seconds. And then you rest for 20 seconds. High intensity interval training has been shown to burn more calories in the same amount of time. So I'll give you an example. If I decide that I want to do a high intensity interval training, even in a run, right? As opposed to just running for 30 minutes at a pace that I can maintain for that whole 30 minutes. If I sprinted as fast as I can for 40 seconds and then walked for 20 seconds, and then sprinted as fast as I can for 40 seconds and then walked for 20 seconds, I can burn up to 150 to 300 times as more energy or more calories than I can if I just kept that pace a steady state for 30 minutes, right? It's also a great way for you to get fitter quicker. Now, how does that benefit weight loss? So if you're doing interval training 2 or 3 days a week, then when you do your steady state jog, you're going to be able to run further and longer every time, because your HIIT days are going to get you fitter. It's going to give you more cardiovascular endurance, right? So combining those two together is a sure way of you not just burning calories, but here is the kicker, which is why it's so important that you use strength training as a part of your HIIT workouts. Because for every pound of muscle that you gain, you will increase your metabolism by 50 calories a day. So the goal with working out is not about just burning calories. The goal with working out is about increasing your lean muscles, right? You want to create. So when a woman tells me, well, I want to be leaner, I want to lose weight and be able to keep it off, I want to be able to run a certain amount of distance, I want to be able to lift my kid up and it not hurt my back, right? All of those things, my trainer brain then goes into translation mode. This person needs to gain muscle, because if she wants to lose the weight and she wants to keep it off, we have to not just raise her metabolism while she's exercising, we have to figure out a way of just keeping her metabolism in that metabolic state all the time, even when she's sitting down watching TV. And so what I really want is I want you to have more muscle. And ladies, you will not look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. One thing that I constantly say is, even Arnold Schwarzenegger had to take steroids to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. So as long as you're not taking steroids, you probably will never look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's just the honest truth. But on a serious tip, one of the reasons why strength training and gaining muscle will not get you to look muscular like a dude or look like a bodybuilder is because women do not have the amount of testosterone that men have. Now, there's two sides of this coin. This is honestly the reason why men lose weight a lot quicker than women. Don't you hate it when like you're doing all of this stuff to work out and lose weight and your husband is like, oh, I think I'm gonna walk around the block, and he comes back and he's 5 pounds lighter. Oh, don't they get it on your nerves sometime? However, that's one of the physiological differences between women and men. Testosterone is also a fat-burning hormone, and men have higher testosterone levels than women. We still have testosterone, and we still need testosterone, but our body is not going to produce it at the same level as a man. So here is an interesting research study that is related to what we were just talking about with intermittent fasting. So one research study showed that when people do 24 hours of intermittent fasting, at the end of the 24 hours, testosterone levels skyrockets. Because remember, I told you that that's one of those fat-burning hormones. So insulin level is down, testosterone also goes up. Well, men can increase their testosterone, and some bodybuilders actually do this. They will fast for 24 hours, know that their testosterone level is higher, because for men, it can increase as much as 1,000% after 24 hours of fasting. But for women, it will only increase about 300%. So it's a huge jump, but it's relative to gender, right? So sometimes bodybuilders will actually go for a 24-hour or 36-hour fast. They will do a massive, heavy weight training workout, right? Because they know at that point, their body physiologically is producing a lot of testosterone. That's going to help them build muscle, because that's the other thing about testosterone. It builds muscle, which is why we also want testosterone, because remember that building of muscle is going to increase your metabolism. And then they will eat after their workout. So that's like a bodybuilder who may incorporate intermittent fasting 1 or 2 times a week, right? For us, we don't have to worry about getting to man levels of testosterone in our body, because our body will naturally even it out. And if we are doing strength training, it's using that extra testosterone to actually build muscle, and that is what we want. We want to build muscle. Muscle is not just for guys. Like, if that is one thing that I can be my kind of like exercise legacy, that is women need muscle too. Couple of reasons why it's super important for us. Number one, it is going to keep your metabolism up. When we say that, oh, we're getting older, so your metabolism slows down. It's true, but also not true. Your metabolism isn't slowing down because the clock is turning. The metabolism is actually slowing down because from the time that we turn 25, our body actually has a natural muscle atrophy, which is the shrinking of the muscle fibers. It starts out very slowly, 2-3% a year. And then about every 5 years, it bumps up 5%, another 5 years, 10%. So a person who has never done any exercise from the time they're 25 to the time they're 75, at 75, if they've never exercised, they can have as much as 25% of the strength that they had when they're 25. So another misnomer is like, oh, as we get older, we get weaker. Yeah, if you don't do any exercise, that's true. Now, the good news is it does not matter how old you are, you can rebuild muscle. They have done research studies on people who are in their 70s, 80s, and 90s. And when they do resistance training, muscle fibers grow. Does not matter how old you are. Don't think, well, I've never exercised in my life, so it's too late to start now. It is never, ever too late. That's not true. When you're in the grave, it's too late. But as long as you're not in the grave, then it's not too late. Okay? So get up, start moving, do squat. You don't really even need equipment, right? Gravity can be your resistance. Squats, lunges, push-ups, crunches, sit-ups, all of those things are going to be ways for you to increase strength, right? You want to increase when you've done a workout and you feel sore, that is literally telling you that your muscles are getting ready to build. So our muscle fibers are like strings. So think of them like strings like this, right? And every time we do a strenuous exercise on our muscle, what happens is the strings start tearing apart a little, tearing apart. That's not a bad thing. That is a good thing because that's the way our muscles build, right? They tear apart, and they create little teeny splits between the muscles. And that's the opportunity for our body to then grow more muscle fibers in between that in order to build the muscle bigger. So you start off really small muscles, right? And then you tear them a little bit, just those little tears, just enough for you to be sore for a couple of days after your workout. And then the body fills in the muscle and the muscle gets bigger. And then you do another workout and then the body fills in the muscle for the muscles to get bigger. So that's the way our muscles actually build. So don't be afraid of being sore. Also, side note, the no pain, no gain theory is not universal. It is no pain, K-N-O-W. No gain, K-N-O-W. Anything that is sharp and piercing is your body telling you, don't do it, I don't like it, stop it. So no matter what exercise it is, if you feel a sharp piercing pain, stop doing it immediately. First thing you do is you go back and you check your form. Is the form of my body correct for this exercise? Most of the time, if people correct their form, it will actually take the pain away because it's generally a way of your body telling you like, I don't like this movement pattern. If it is not the form, then you have to look at how much is the weight that you're lifting, how many reps that you're doing. But if it's burning, that's a good thing. That's your body warming those muscles up and all of that muscle fiber are working with one another and it's starting to grow. So no pain, K-N-O-W, no gain, K-N-O-W, right? Really, really important. I saw that somebody commented that they have a problem with their knees. Number one, when you have physical limitations, as long as you can move something, then you can work out, right? So I have a client right now who she injured her arm. We believe that it's an occupational injury, right? As soon as the pandemic happened and she had to shift to working at home, she admitted that she didn't have a proper desk set up. And ever since then, about a month after, she started having problems with her arm. So we think that it has to do with the ergonomics of the way that she's working, and she's at the computer all day. So she's currently doing physical therapy in addition to working with me. And while her physical therapist is working on her arm, what we're doing is we're working everything else. We're doing legs, we're doing abs, we're doing back, we're doing the other arm. You don't use, I have a knee injury, my shoulder hurt. Don't use that for excuse. You can always do something, right? And as you begin to lose weight, all of those joint issues are going to be even better. For every pound that you lose, orthopedics say that you are taking between 3 to 7 pounds off of your lower joints. So we're talking about losing weight and you're having less knee pain. You're having less ankle pain. You're having less foot pain. If you're losing that weight and using intermittent fasting or a low carb ketogenic plan, then you are also decreasing inflammation. So your joints are not going to hurt as much. And once you can get rid of that pain, then you'll be able to move with much more ease, right? Most people will come to me and they will say, I really want to lose weight. And of course I want you to lose weight because I want you to be healthier in every other aspect of your life, right? So they lose we talk about the weight loss, but then I find that they come in and say, you know what? I got in and out of my car with absolutely no pain in my knees. Or I was able to reach up in the cabinet and clean my cabinet out and I did not even feel any pain in my shoulder, right? All of those are the benefits of becoming healthier, both physically and physiologically. So that is what I teach my clients. Now, in conclusion, because I know I talked way longer than I intended to, but I wanted you to understand all of the things that I teach in my mR40 method program. And I challenge women to try the program for 6 weeks. I do a burn belly fat challenge. And that is you committing to following the program for 40 days. 40 days, that's about 6 weeks. When you follow that program for 40 days, you will lose weight. So everybody's a winner. But the woman who loses the greatest percentage of her overall body weight in 40 days, I give them $500. $500 is the grand prize as recognition for hard work. But I recognize that everybody who does the program has made a huge step in improving their health and wellness. Now, I'm doing something right now that I've never done before. I am offering buy one, get one. My Burn Belly Fat Challenge is a 6-week program. But if you sign up for a Burn Belly Fat Challenge, I'm going to actually give you 12 weeks. I'm going to get you enrolled in 2 challenges, right? Who is this appropriate for? This is appropriate for anyone who wants to lose weight, ideally, and certainly less than this if you need to lose weight more than 25 pounds, right? Of course, you can enroll in the program if you need to lose less than 25 pounds, but if you need to lose more than 25 pounds, then this is the perfect opportunity for you not only to get 6 weeks of coaching, but 12 weeks of weight loss coaching. I personally coach everyone via Zoom. We all jump on a Zoom class once a week. In addition, you're going to immediately, so if you sign up right now, you will immediately be taken to the page where you can log into your membership dashboard, get a menu a meal plan, recipes, a workout guide, workout videos, and access to our private community. We have a private Facebook group in addition to a WhatsApp group. And in both of those communities, we support one another, we encourage one another, we see each other through the rough days, and I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it's gonna be a rough day, but we stay consistent, we stay focused, because we have a whole community of amazing women behind us. But more importantly, I am super committed to giving you every resource that you need in order to reduce your weight and kickstart a healthy lifestyle. No, it's not just about weight, but weight is a sign that your body is having a metabolic dysfunction, and it's important that we correct that metabolic and hormonal dysfunction so that you can release, not just release weight, but you can also get more energy, you can reduce inflammation, you can improve your sleep. We have women who have fibromyalgia who said that after they followed the plan for 40 days, that it decreased things like brain fog and pain. We have women with PCOS who say that they have struggled for so long trying to figure out how to lose weight, and they're pre-diabetic, and they did the program and now they're no longer pre-diabetic and all of their symptoms have decreased. We have women who are moms who've tried and they've struggled and said nothing worked until they started this program, right? So we have so many women, and I'm sure it's somebody that is facing the same challenges that you are, that's really ready to do something that actually works, that will kickstart a healthy lifestyle. And it is a lifestyle, right? I'm not just about, hey, follow this for 40 days and then go back to what you're doing. We are going to change your relationship with food. That means that once you follow the program, your cravings are going to go away. You're going to break your addiction to sugar. It may seem like, oh my gosh, how is all of this is going to happen in 40 days? But once you follow this step-by-step process, you're going to see the shift in your body, the shift in the way you think about food, the shift in how you are using food to benefit you towards your goal, and not just because you need some emotional comfort, right? How often do we fall into food as an emotional pacifier for ourselves, right? I'm not feeling good today. So let's talk about strategies that we can do instead of using food on the days where you're not feeling your best, right? How do we reward ourselves when we've accomplished something that does not include food, right? How do we motivate ourselves to get up and work out even when we really don't feel like it? Well, I thought about all of those things, and a part of my Black Friday sale is I'm actually going to do in December 4 live master classes on the inner game of weight loss. So we are going to get your mind right and get you to set healthy goals in a very effective manner so that you can stay motivated and you can end self-sabotage, and you'll know how to get over those roadblocks when they inevitably come. So that is actually a bonus never before offered as a part of the Black Friday sale. So I hope that you would join me and your tribe of women, because we are waiting for you. But I more than anything hope that you use the information that I shared with you today to become healthier and it lead to a happier, more fulfilling life. All right? So that is my spiel for today, and I will talk to you on Sunday. Sunday, I'm going to come back and we're going to have a chat. Go ahead, let me know in the comments what are some of the things that you want us to talk about, and I'll try to include them in our chat on Sunday. All right? Again, go to mR40method.com. That's mR40method.com, and take advantage of this once a year training opportunity, because I want you to be my next success story. All right? Assalamu alaikum. Hope to see you in the tribe.